Many years ago when I was in high school, I was looking at events coming up, and I didn't have a partner to go to prom with. And at the time, you got to remember, this is early 2000s. At the time, the concept of going to prom without a partner was very foreign, right? It was alien almost. Fast forward 20 years later, now I do private tutoring. I often recommend some of my students go to prom alone, right? Because they don't realize they could do it. And even they have a little bit of difficulty with that. But sometimes, you know what, I also know some of their parents, and their parents are usually quite accepting of that concept, usually without too much hesitation. The kids, maybe not so much, right? We've definitely come a long way since then, but I think we still have lots and lots of work to do. A lot of times, part of the reason I'm really hesitating or concerned about reopening is that people have a hard time understanding my personal needs, right? Especially when it comes to asking for vacation time. Most of my coworkers, well, actually all of my coworkers right now have children, but most of them in the past have had at least a committed relationship. It's a lot easier for people to understand a couple going on vacation, right? It's a lot easier to understand a couple wanting time off, right? It's a lot harder to understand a single guy wanting to go out to the mountains to view something in the night sky, wanting to leave work on time to pursue a hobby. For some reason, we're very maniac about relationships, right? Sometimes I work in a very close-knit office. Sometimes my coworkers see me talking to a girl, might not even be a very close relationship. They get very maniac about it and want to know the latest scoop on what's going on with me and her, right? And I'm thinking to myself, why does life revolve around this topic, right? There are a million other things that life could revolve around, right? For example, I took up bowling about a year ago now. Just the other night, I scored a 222, right? 222. That's my highest score so far. My goal is to score 250 by the end of this year. And life doesn't revolve around that, right? Other people want to go home on time, not necessarily to go bowling, right? Some people play a different sport. Some people have different hobbies, right? Anyways, life doesn't revolve around that. I'm competing at the Computer Olympiad, actually, as we speak right now, right? It's this week. Life certainly doesn't revolve around that, right? Most of my coworkers, we work around code so much. Most people don't like to do additional coding recreationally, right? And that's fine. But why does life revolve around who's dating who, or even just two people getting to know each other, or marriage, or children? This past year has been very tough because COVID-19 has revolved around people needing to take time off to tend to their family members who have COVID. I had a coworker who couldn't find childcare because the babysitter had COVID. And you know what? In an ideal world, it's not that I'm bitter that I have to help out these people. What I'm really bitter about is, yes, they have special needs right now and I'm helping out. But other times, aside from COVID-19, right, during the better years, I have other needs too, right? But it doesn't reciprocate because we as a society revolve around the whole complex of love and marriage and reproduction so much, right? That's my main problem, is that we revolve around it so much. A few years ago, obviously before COVID, I actually contacted one of the TV networks, I forget which one it was, The Bachelor and The Bachelorette. I asked them, would you like to host a Bachelor involving solosexuals, right? Because they did LGBTQ at one point, so I thought solosexual would be a very obvious extension to that. I obviously didn't hear back. And then I came up with a better idea. Maybe I could do one for YouTube. Obviously, I am doing one for YouTube right now, right? But I'd love to do one where I stayed at 5-star hotels and ate at the best restaurants and all that. So if you have a donation to make so I can do that, if I can raise, you know, at least enough to cover living expenses, right? So I could take a year of sabbatical to do this and maybe record from different places around the world. But if I could have some money to actually do it from interesting locations, that would be good too, right? Feel free to make a donation if you would love to see that happen. Thanks for watching.